the teacher's role is supposed to change now from being just with someone who delivers the facts to someone who creates that experience.
Just adds or complements whatever they do, and certainly is not a replacement.
More exams really preparing them from for the real world? Maybe not, right? So if we want to actually utilize AI to its best, I think the framework of education itself has to be changed at some level.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Tomo Club Playbook with the Leaders of Tomorrow podcast. I have one more amazing guest with me who has done wonders in the edtech industry, building from India to the world. And I am Shreyas, your host at Tomo Club. Welcome to the show, Khushboo. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's likewise. It's a pleasure to be here. And just speaking with someone in the edtech domain itself is like a good validation when it comes, right? Being in the edtech field itself. So I'm really glad that I'm here and speaking with you with Tomo Club.
Definitely, and it is a great exercise for me as well to understand what is going on in the edtech space. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers on YouTube will definitely pick one or two things that they can readily work on from the conversation. And that just gives me great excitement. It also makes me feel I'm giving back to the tech community in a small way whatsoever, so that they are
Absolutely.
able to build on this further. So
That's much
before
required
we,
also.
yes. So before we dig in straight away, I would love to have your introduction so that audience know who you are, what you're doing, and one thing that is very close to you when it comes to edtech.
Sure. So my name is Khushboo Vaidya. I am the founder of EdCalibre, which is a real world focused and a story based math practice application for school students. This journey has not been a very linear sort of a way that it has happened. I actually never thought that I would ever become an entrepreneur. Never. I was working as an engineer, sitting in my cubicle and just thinking about what do I want to do next. And because I used to teach in NIT Surat, that experience really reminded me of what I was more passionate about. When I used to teach that subject to engineering students, the one thing that came to my mind was how did I expect my professors to teach us? And that conscious thought really helped me to understand from a student point of view, rather than just being someone who is there to convey information and facts to the students. I really loved that opportunity where I could think from the student point of view, why would they pay attention to what I'm saying and what is in it for them. So I think that thought process is something that I'm really passionate about when it comes to edtech, thinking from the student point of view. Because as an educator, because you have done these teaching experiences for so long, you really sometimes forget that sometimes what is just an assumption for you might not be for the student, right? So you really need to get down as a student and think about silly questions also, which if you just think yourself as an educator and a teacher, you will not get it. So to answer that question, like what is it that I'm passionate about in edtech, is I think just seeing myself as a learner and not an educator when I'm talking to students or even creating EdCalibre and the content on EdCalibre. It's a student first app and we empathize with them, and not because, well, you have to study it because of the fear of exams or because, well, you have to. So we really keep student first approach whenever we create or curate experiences of EdTech for them.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. And I totally agree. The learner first mindset is something which we at Tomo Club also resonate very deeply. And I'm sure that brings the synergy to us in this conversation as well.
Yeah.
So before we move into the first question, I would want to remind our lovely audience, this would be a perfect time to like, share, and subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify. And please do drop your comments, and we will strive hard to reach out to everybody that comments and share our thoughts and opinion as well. So on that note, the very first question I'll kind of put you on the spot here is to bring in AI in education. So AI and the future of learning. So AI is showing up in
Right.
classrooms in all kinds of ways. It is being used after class. So right now, from personalized tutoring tools to auto-graded assignments to our very own AI literacy curriculum, future-ready skills. So in your view, what's the most meaningful shift AI is bringing to how students actually learn and not just how they are assessed or how they are, using it to probably answer their assignments without putting in much thought.
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I feel AI, so let's think it like in separate parts from the teacher point of view, from a student point of view, in the classroom, and also post school. So if we think about from a teacher point of view, what teacher does regularly is uh, teach all of these concepts in a very repetitive way. There is a joke, I think, when quick note to add, like there is this joke that the teacher asks students that did you understand the concept, and the students are like no, but there is this Hindi phrase like you आपका तो पक्का हो गया ना like we didn't understand it, but I'm sure you got it right. And you are more prepared on this topic now that you have explained it to us. So I feel with with teachers every year, they are repeating that same thing again and again when it comes to, because that is the main crux as teachers until now, that they have to deliver and explain the concepts in the classroom. So I think that has become so repetitive that what AI can do now is replace at least that part of teaching facts. Because whatever concepts are there, it is basically the same sort of teaching. And the teacher's role is supposed to change now from being just with someone who delivers the facts to someone who creates that experience of understanding that fact and relating it to the students and the real world. Because in the end, what are you learning these things for? What is school for? To prepare you for the real world. But do you really think that just teaching these facts or concepts is really preparing students for real world? Does student bringing marks in the classroom or exams really preparing them from for the real world? Maybe not, right? So I feel that where AI can come into place is they can do the work of delivering that same content, and teachers can use an AI tool to make that as an experience in the classroom, right? And from the student point of view also, it gets very engaging when they see teachers as facilitators and being one of them and trying to learn how to use AI tool to bring better learning experiences in the classroom. The second thing, I think, if we think post school analysis, what you said, where students are just using AI to complete homework, but the thing is that these things won't change until a shift happens in the education itself, right? In the education system itself. Because right now, what you're teaching students is, well, you have to do homework, right? Without them, uh, without asking them, do you actually want to do the homework or not? We have always assumed that homework is supposed to be done by students. We always assume that concepts are supposed to be understood by students. If they don't understand it, it's their problem. Or maybe they were not paying attention, right? But the thing is that until and unless these things don't change at a grassroots level, students are students will continue using AI to help them bring answers, because that is what they have been asked. That what is this concept? Give me the answer. They will ask AI instead of reading it in the book. So if we want to actually utilize AI to its best, I think the framework of education itself has to be changed at some level. Um, well, maybe this is like a long term, like a visionary thing, but I still feel like, because these subjects are taught in a very isolated way, right? Science different class, math different class. And oh yes, it is good to use AI for each subject individually. But imagine the power of AI if you are integrating these subjects. to talk about some real world. So instead of having subjects of math, science, social science, you're actually having subjects of climate change. You're actually having subjects of robotics or like traffic or food shortage or interior design right in the school itself. Or you can like pick up the SDG goals, the 30, and pick those subjects. Then in that, you show the amalgamation of science, math, social science, everything coming together. Because I think that is what creates impact. Uh, so I feel like to actually utilize AI, some framework change in the education system and a shift in the mindset also would play a major role to utilize it at its best. Otherwise, people will continue to use AI for the conventional ways where we are not actually utilizing it at its core potential.
Absolutely. What you just said makes so much sense because traditionally we have seen teachers and educators, uh, the teaching itself is seen as a social service, wherein we have not given the teachers the credential as a profession, right? So it makes it so much more better if we are able to help teachers be a co-creator because their job moves much behind just teaching. So they are also
Exactly.
there to give that social emotional support. They are there to, take care of the student while in school. So AI just adds or complements whatever they do, and certainly is not a replacement in whatever manner. I can edit that out. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So uh, with what we were talking about the teachers, there was also a significant mention about the student engagement and real world application. So
Yeah.
one of the biggest complaints, at least that I hear from students in the math or the STEM field, is that their learning needs or the learning methods feel disconnected from the real world. So
Yeah.
how do you think EdTech needs to evolve to close that gap? And where do you see AI playing a role in making learning feel more relevant?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like at EdCalibre, what we are currently doing is doing things with the same vision. How can we connect concepts to real world? So until now, we have created 500 plus real world connections, uh, where students can apply math and see the relevance. So, for example, how to use algebra in spacecraft fuel calculations, how to use ratios in agriculture or fashion design, how to use geometry in baking. And what we have done is we have not just connected math with just tech, because we know math is applied anywhere and everywhere, even in day-to-day applications we use it intuitively without us knowing that we are doing math, right? So we wanted to provide a breadth of applications, that in art, in finance, in architecture, design, in what different ways are we implementing math. Just to give a quick example, we have this task on a triangle and its properties, like exterior angle of a triangle. So what we do at Caliber is we convert those theoretical word problems from the book, and then we convert each of them to real world, so students know why they are solving that problem. So in our task we have this playground slide that an architect has to design, or in the playground, so or a product designer has to design, right? So then we ask certain questions. If the exterior angle is like this much, find the interior angle. So once they find the answer, we then show them why keeping this angle is a perfect angle for students, for kids to have fun while sliding down, as well as it is considering the safety part as well. So now for students, this 35-degree that they found out has some value connected to it. They are thinking from a design point of view while connecting math to it, that this angle is a perfect angle where it adds safety and fun element. Now that you know this is the angle, what can you do to increase the base of the ground? Or that's where the Pythagoras theorem also comes into the picture, how you're finding the slope, and the sea. So these experiences help students remember these concepts for a longer time, and that is the impact that it creates. And at Caliber, even with our direct P2C live sessions that we do with the students, that includes math, science, robotics, AI. We use all elements to solve a real world problem. Even then, we have seen that students really love to think in complex ways if it is giving them some meaning. They love to go in depth. Usually we have these assumptions that we want to make things simple and easy for students. But what we have seen is the opposite. When they are finding that real world connection, that this has some meaning to it, they love to think in these complex ways. So I think that is the impact that real world learning can bring about for the students. And at EdCalibre, along with doing that, we didn't want to make them feel like they are doing something extracurricular, right? Because whenever we think about these sort of activities, parents and teachers and all, they really think that this is extra activity. So that's why we purposefully connected our curriculum with their existing concepts that they are learning in school itself. So they don't feel like they are doing something extra, but rather it is adding to their academics. Recently we did a tournament, and the winner of the tournament actually in his video testimonial said that he does not like math. Imagine, he was the one who won. So what he said was he really liked the story approach and the real world connection to it. So that means that the bias towards the subject was happening because it was taught in a theoretical way, right? Or because it was this is the way it has been. So how AI can also help here is teachers, once they identify what sort of a learner these different students are, right? So like we spoke in the previous question, that now teachers are co-creators. This space that when AI takes over to teach the actual facts and concepts, now teacher gets this bandwidth to know each student one on one and identify where their strength lies, what sort of learning do they identify with, and that way they can see how AI can be used to teach every student in a particular way as well, right? So that is how you are co-creating, you are understanding, getting, I mean, empathizing with the student and leveraging AI, because if you give AI a certain way of learning, it will help you create it. But in the end, it is giving the outcome where every student is still learning that same concept but in different ways. And so at Caliber also, if one concept is we when we make real world applications, it is different interests. So like there's one task on robotics for algebra, one on agriculture, one based on like fashion design. So the same way, different students have different interests that they connect with, but they are in the end they are still learning the same thing. So now we are also leveraging AI in our curriculum development as well, as to how it can cater to each student and in their aid in their learning process.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have spoken so much about, the excitement around AI, what it can
Yeah.
do, what it will replace, what it does, the more than the benefits we have been speaking about, what are the challenges and what are the disadvantages that AI brings. So it is
Yeah.
very imperative for us to understand that AI as a tool can definitely make the experience better. But
Yeah.
somehow the only or one of the reasons that I see for this becoming a failure, like the AI not being able to bring in the same level of engagement and in a way contribute to an improved learning experience, is the implementation and sustainability of the tool. So a lot
Yeah.
of schools, they show initial excitement when they are talking about AI, but then as they move forward, they struggle to actually sustain beyond the pilot. So this is why
Yes.
in most of my content, I say the most tech companies fail because they can't convert from the pilot to the implementation because there is no bridge. And the
Yeah.
pilot stage is where most tech companies see the grade. So
Correct.
what do you think would probably separate the programs that stick, that gets
Yeah.
implemented, and from the ones that quietly disappear after a semester?
Correct. Very good question, because just talking about AI and its usage and not talking about how it could be implemented leads to nowhere, right? So it's the one thing that we really have to keep in mind is, like you said, keeping the teacher also as a center, because they are the one who would be facilitating this tool. So when we were doing user studies for EdCalibre, we really made sure that we speak with teachers, all the stakeholders, principals, teachers, students, and parents. And when we spoke to teachers, majority of the times their main concern was that if we are using these additional tools, how will we finish the syllabus, right? So currently the main focus is on completing syllabus. There are no tools to gauge the quality of the syllabus that is being that the students are receiving on their end. The benchmark is, did you complete the syllabus or not? And in some schools, teachers also have to do each problem from the textbook on their boards with the student. So the student is actually copying what teacher is writing on the board, right? Or so they have to make sure that they do all of these things. So whenever we add some extra layer for this, they always see it as a burden, right? Even if they understand, so uh, instead of us thinking that this is how the way it should be, if we actually want them to use a tool, we really need to think how things are instead of how it should be, and how we are replacing what they are doing currently. And again, uh, that's why at EdCalibre also we emphasize a lot on making teacher onboarding as easy as possible. So our teacher training is 10 to 15 minutes max. Every month we reach out to the teachers if they need any assistance, and they're like, no, we are able to use it. So we had a very conscious thought when we were creating EdCalibre also, was not to give anything extra other than what that tool is for. How to give this library, how to empower teachers by giving this library of 500 plus real world applications. So we know that in a class of 40 minutes, they are going to use this for 10 minutes for practice. And these are the questions that are in the book also, right? But you know how there are the science labs where teachers take students for experiments and they can see the tangible outcomes. But with math, it's not tangible to do those experiments as such, right? So we provide EdCalibre as a tool, which is like a math lab being done in the classroom itself, because it will reinforce the concepts in the mind. And when students understand its real world application, and then when you make them do the rigor, they will be more inclined and motivated to do it because they know what they are practicing it for. So when we are creating these AI tools, first we need to understand that it should be very intuitive for teachers to use. If they see it as a burden, they will not use it. Second, we need to understand how things are and how we can use AI to replace that instead of having the utopian way of this is how it should be. Because the thing we also spoke before also, we need to be like milestone based thing, milestone based approach we have to take. So if once you need to get in the system, to change the system, it's how people say it. So if you give them a tool which is helping them in their existing way of learning, teaching, once you build that relationship with them, you take feedback from them. How else would you like to utilize this tool? Then we put questions on our end. What if this tool could also do this? And then you add these features, then you add this layer and try to give it to them. They will be more prone to having that smooth transition because first they trust you, you have built that relationship with them, and second, they've already used this tool where they know how to use it. So even if you add little by little more, they will be more open to accepting. But if you directly go to a teacher with this big tool that does everything and with so many options, they are going to be so overwhelmed, right? And the thing is, not all teachers fall in a certain age group. There are teachers who are like above 55, above 60, right? And then there are young teachers as well. Every teacher is bringing different layers of wisdom based on experience or based on doing new technologies. But you also have to understand that it should be as simple as using a phone, like using any simple app that any age group can use. So if we have really have to consider these things while creating the AI tools. uh, that is what we have seen so far, that it should be easier for them to use and adapt.
I definitely resonate with one fact that you clearly mentioned, which was not to give more features, because I've
Yeah.
heard this from the teachers on the ground. The features that are most useful to them, which does not carry any steep learning curve or which does
Yeah.
not eat into their free minutes, which is probably a couple here and there between
Yeah.
periods, that brings in a lot of comfort and the confidence to implement and sustain this on a longer term compared to a
Yes.
company that starts shipping each and every feature, say a quarter, and that each feature will need additional training, then that just becomes too much of a burden. So you're very right
Yes.
to point out that we have to work as an edtech company to reduce the teacher burden. See
Yeah.
AI as a tool that complements their teaching style, not something which acts as a replacement. And finally,
Yes.
with regards to the student engagement, it is always the best to use the tool along with the teacher's guidance, which is
Yes.
something we at Tomo Club and I'm sure at EdCalibre as well, we are striving to
Yes.
implement and do it. So on that note, we are coming to the close of the podcast. So what's one actionable tip that you want to offer to our students as a closing note?
Sure. One actionable insight for using AI or just in general?
It could be in general, anything that a student can pick and start working on.
Hmm. Right. So I feel like as students, you are given a lot of expectations, right? Pressure to bring marks and be obedient and follow a certain set of process steps that are framed as rules in order to learn things. So I would, what I would suggest is, and we both can, resonate to it because now we are on the other side. We have already gone through the school, we have done engineering out there, worked in industries. Now we know what's important, right? Marks are definitely not important, I feel, and I strongly would say that. Uh, okay, let me rephrase this. Striving for just marks is not important. I think that's a better way to frame it. Uh, and like in Three Idiots, this movie, Three Idiots of Amir Khan, there is this saying that, success ke piche mat bhago, excellence ke piche bhago. Success will come after that. But I really feel that excellence also you is not something you should run behind. Because sadly, in this era, excellence is connected with marks. Okay. So, for example, if a student is just behind excellence, whenever they are being taught a concept, they will be thinking about what are the questions, what I need to memorize, what has been asked until now in these different exams until now, because their point of view is excellence, which is marks, and you can only get marks if you understand the concept, memorize the formulas, see what sort of questions are coming, how to beat the MCQs, and all of those things. Yes, it is important to some level. But imagine if a student who is understanding a concept, they got the theory part of it, and now they are really thinking, where am I going to use this in real world? Is this applicable to me? If it is not applicable to me, who is it applicable for? Right? And why should I be interested in something that is applicable to others and not me? Because school is the time to explore, right? People want to become entrepreneurs later on in life, but they are so bound by jobs and mortgages and EMIs and everything, they don't get opportunity to pursue. So I think being in school and being in colleges is a wonderful time to like think about startups and fail, because you have nothing to lose. You don't have to worry about jobs or like getting paid or anything. You can be free, and that will only start when whatever you are learning comes with a question of how would this solve a real world problem. So now imagine this student who is taking this approach, they are going deep into the real world aspect of it. Okay. And now they are doing the questions. Now they are doing these, uh, what do you call it? The last year paper practice and all of those things. The first student who directly jumped on the questions, they might fail when it comes to some tricky questions. because they've memorized and they are so much into like getting marks, they might do some silly mistake and not think about it. But the student who is a bit curious and doing these questions as puzzles, rather than it being like pressure oriented, I have to get marks, they will start seeing these questions as puzzles. And when you start seeing it as a puzzle, you really take note of important information that is being asked to you. So you wouldn't be in the rush of finishing that sum because you have to make sure you complete it in a certain time period, right? Take time to understand the question, because when you do that, half of the problem is solved then and there itself. So take time to understand concepts. Take time to go deep into it. And even if you don't want to go too deep, at least as a surface level, see how this concept is used in real world. And that itself will really help you with question solving. Because in the end, even if they're following this process, they are in the verge of becoming excellent. But directly thinking that I have to be excellent gives a little negative outreach for students. So to students, I would just say, take your time. There is no hurry. If people around you understand concepts in 1 minute and you take 10 minutes, it is okay. It is all right. And that's why we have these AI tools, right? You don't have to like research in all the books and try to see how I can understand. Now you can ask AI and it will tell you in the way you understand. So really take your time to understand and see these questions as puzzles rather than them testing you out. You are testing the questions, not the other way around, right? Exams are not testing you, you are testing the exam. So just keep those things in mind, and that will really give you a very pleasant and a positive learning experience. And you will really feel like, looking back, oh, wait, I did this. And in this real world right now, whatever I'm doing, I'm working, I'm an entrepreneur, a lawyer, or anything. Oh, wait, I did this. I think that could be implemented now. And when students understand, oh, wait, I know how the world works, that is when we should know that we succeeded as educators or edtech platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. So focusing on the learning experience and focusing on becoming problem solvers will definitely make this journey more exciting and enterprising. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing all these steps. I'm sure our community is definitely going to find value in what you have shared. So on that note, a gentle reminder to our listeners, please do like, share, subscribe to our channels. I'll also include Khushboo's and EdCalibre's details in the description. You can always feel free to reach out for any clarifications. Please do share your thoughts in the comments. We'll make sure to answer each and every one of them and make this experience much better going forward. So on that note, this is Shreyas, your host, signing off. Thank you, and we will be back with one more amazing guest on our next episode. Stay tuned, take care, and stay safe.
Thank you.